year is 3642. All society lives under the reign of the supercore. For those who step out of line, there is but one fate. A one-way journey to the last lawless and unowned sector of space. For those doomed clones sentenced to this place, there is only one way out. Amass the 3.14 quadrillion credits to purchase your freedom. Or, more likely, die trying. This is Deadspace.
Welcome to the Deadspace server. Immediately upon logging in, you'll be placed into the Deadspace Arrivals spawn. In the station, you can do a bit of exploring, maybe meet some other players, but most importantly, find your starter ships. So once you're in, you can see some of the different LCDs that we have for different factions and also for just the game in general. And we're going to follow the signs to get our new starter ship. Follow the signs, past the guns. Now, one thing that differentiates the server a little bit is that we offer 3 different starters. Well, I guess 4 technically if you count suits. But there's mining, hauling, combat, and then suit, as I mentioned. Mining is your standard kind of typical space engineer starter experience. In our case, you're given a ship with a drill, actually a couple of drills, and once you're in the ship, you can immediately go to the Sigma Draconis belt to start mining. The belt will have pretty much everything you need to get started and become competitive relatively quickly. The hauling deployment is focused on what we call data delivery contracts. Once you're in the ship, you can head to any of the inner trade stations or Trade Central or the territory trade stations to grab a contract to then deliver material to another station. One important thing though is when you're delivering those contracts, make sure that the data pad you provided is actually in the ship. It will not work so well if it is in your suit. The combat deployment is all about getting into the action immediately. You'll spawn in a relatively combat-capable ship in the NPC zone. The NPC zone itself is 500 kilometer so radius, with the most difficult encounters being in the first 100 kilometer radius zone. In the combat ship that you're given initially, which just as you would expect is not teched or a top tier ship or anything like that, but it should give you a fighting chance in terms of fighting or doing damage to some of the smaller or weaker enemies on the outskirts of the NPC zone, in addition to the passive enemies you can find around 300 kilometers out and more than that. So with that, let's try hauling. So we're now in our ship. I've taken the liberty of adding the inner trade station locations, which we can go to actually get the contracts. But first, we'll take a quick tour around the ship. This ship I really like because it has a lot of useful information that especially new players will find useful, such as the fact that the purple planet itself is a gas giant and will absolutely destroy your ship if you get too close, so be careful about that. One thing we'll try out in just a moment is the frame shift drive, which I think is a great addition to the server as well. Alpha and Omega territories are in instance 05. Anyone who is not a territory owner in that instance will show up, will essentially, the location will be broadcasted to the owners of that particular territory, assuming that they're within a particular, assuming they're close enough. Some other information here, other useful information about the GPS locations. Which you can find here. Really useful. Block limits, etc. Okay. So let's head to one of the stations. Let's see which is closest. 1782. We are now arriving at the station, but we'll get our first data hauling contract. Turn my hydrogen engine back off. And one thing to note is that the frame shift drive will stop you about 1.5 kilometers away from safe zones, and all the intertrade stations are encased in safe zones. Ship. And let's grab a contract. Entrance. Let's see. Contract is 1,000 kilometers away. And I have this hauling contract on my person, which, as a reminder, needs to go into the ship, into your ship. Find my ship. Head off to complete the contract. Turn my hydrogen engine back on and start the frame shift. Getting close to my destination. The distance for the delivery is about 300 meters, I believe. Make sure the hauling contract is in our cargo, which it should be. Yep, right there. And it looks like our contract marker disappeared. If that happens, you can always use contract info to get back to the existing marker. Alright, and as you can see in the bottom left corner there, we got 20 million space credits for that delivery. We can do as many of those as we like. You can actually pick up another contract here to take it to the next place. So that about wraps up what a first day one might be like on the Dracona server, assuming that you go for hauling. And what we might do is other videos to walk through some of the mining and combat experiences. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.